Most people work their whole lives for money, but never learn how money actually works. What if mastering just 7 simple rules could quietly change everything? Not overnight, but for good. If you've ever felt like money slips through your hands no matter how hard you try, you're not alone. But the truth is, real financial freedom starts with understanding just a few calm, clear principles that anyone, yes, anyone, can follow. Let's start with lesson number 1. Here's something most people never learn early enough. Before you pay the bills, before you buy the coffee, before anything else, pay yourself first. It doesn't have to be much. Maybe 10% of your income, maybe less. But this simple act tells your money where to go before it disappears. You're building a habit that quietly says, "My future matters." Over time, this habit creates financial stability, peace of mind, and eventually, freedom. Paying yourself first isn't selfish, it's wise.
The rule is to pay yourself first. Make it a goal to save 10% or more off the top of every paycheck. Now that's off the top, not off the bottom. So if you make $1,000 a month, you save $100 a month, and you pay everything else, taxes, living expenses, and everything off of that. So here's a formula that will make you rich. Start by saving 1% of your income and learn to live comfortably on the other 99%. So 66% a day is not very much on a $2,000 income, but it begins to change the direction of your financial ship. Your goal is to get to about 15 to 20%, so that you're earning or living, you're saving 15 to 20%, and you're living comfortably on the balance. And that will make you rich if you don't do anything other than that, if you do it long enough.
Now moving forward with lesson number 2, learn to invest. It might sound intimidating at first, but investing is simply choosing to grow your money instead of letting it sit idle. You don't need to be an expert or start with thousands of dollars. What matters is consistency and time. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to compound and multiply. Think of it like planting a tree. You won't see results overnight, but give it time. And it can grow into something powerful. Stocks, real estate, mutual funds, there are many options. The key is to start where you are and build slowly with confidence. When you invest, you're not just earning, you're creating possibilities for your future self.
I don't know about stocks and shares. I don't know what to put my money in.
Yep.
I don't know what trading is. Where do I start?
Practical advice. Don't worry about it. Put money into, if you're in the UK, into a stocks and shares ISA, which is a savings account, or in America, your Roth IRA or 401k. And if you can invest money, invest it into a stock market index fund. Basically what that means is that instead of buying one company like Apple or Microsoft or Tesla or Google, you're buying a stake in the top 500 companies in America, which would just so happen like if you put 100 quid in something called the S&P 500, £3 would go to Apple and you'd own £3 of Apple. And that means you can invest in the stock market without worrying about trying to cherry pick individual stocks, which doesn't work for anyone unless you're like a very, very, very professional hedge fund manager. And even then, for those guys, picking stocks doesn't really work. That would be my advice to people. I think it does help to have a first principles understanding of what the stock market is and how that kind of stuff works.
Let's keep building with lesson number 3, make your money work for you. This is where true financial freedom begins. Instead of trading your time for every dollar, you let your money earn while you rest, learn, or live. How? Through smart investments, passive income streams, and assets that generate returns. When your money is working, even while you sleep, you're no longer stuck in survival mode. You're stepping into freedom, into choice, into control. Every dollar you invest is an employee working quietly in the background, building your future.
So, how do you actually build a diversified portfolio? There's only 4 steps. 1. Stocks. Think of stocks as buying tiny pieces of big companies. For example, you can buy a stock in a company like Apple or Amazon. A great tool to help with this is an index fund like the S&P 500, which spreads your money across 500 different companies. This way, you're not just depending on one company to do well. 2. Bonds. Bonds are like giving a loan to a company or the government. Imagine if you lend your allowance to a friend and they promise to pay you back with a little extra. Bonds are safer than stocks because they don't change much in value. Tools like treasury bonds or corporate bonds are good examples. They help keep your money safe when the stock market is going up and down a lot. 3. Real estate. You don't need to buy a house to invest in real estate.
Let's take a breath and continue with lesson number 4. Don't be a slave to money. Yes, money is important, but it should serve you, not control you. If every decision you make is driven by fear, pressure, or the need to impress others, then money is running your life. True wealth is balance. It's freedom to say no. It's peace of mind, not just numbers in an account. Work hard. Be wise. But don't lose yourself chasing more. Sometimes the richest people aren't the ones with the most, but the ones who need the least to feel whole. Use money as a tool, but never let it define your worth.
What does being a slave to money look like? I'll tell you. 7% interest on your house, 18% interest on a car that you can't afford, 24% on your credit cards, working 40 to 50 hours a week to pay your bills, not having an emergency fund, having student loans, and being miserable, being a slave to what? Money. So when somebody makes money and gets to pick their own schedule and have money work for them, they're a horrible person. No, the Bible says He gives us the power to create wealth. Why? Because that's our covenant.
We're building something strong. Now let's continue with lesson number 5. Always have an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Jobs end. Cars break down. Bills surprise us. When you have a safety net, just a few months of expenses set aside, stress becomes silence. Panic becomes peace. This isn't about being afraid, it's about being prepared. Your emergency fund is not for vacations or shopping sprees. It's your quiet protection when the unexpected arrives. Start small if you need to. Save consistently. Build your cushion. Because when life happens, and it will, you'll be ready, not wrecked.
Why is the recommendation to keep your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account instead of a diversified, low-cost ETF?
What is your emergency fund for? It's for an emergency, right?
It's true.
When an emergency happens, you want to make sure that you can get to those dollars. So I'm going to argue in that low-cost ETF, what did it do in 2022? What did it do in the middle of COVID?
Shawty, what that thing do?
I don't think you can be so aggressive and so risky and so dangerous that you put your emergency fund into something like that, because at the time that you need it most, there's a very high likelihood it won't be there for you when you need it.
You're gaining momentum. Let's move forward with lesson number 6. Have a plan and set goals. Without direction, money drifts. It gets spent, wasted, or forgotten. But when you set clear goals, whether it's buying a home, starting a business, or becoming debt-free, every dollar has a purpose. A plan turns income into progress. Goals turn sacrifice into meaning. Write them down. Review them often. Adjust when life changes. But always know where you're going, because wealth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. And a plan, no matter how simple, puts you in the driver's seat of your financial future.
If you don't specify what you want, you won't get it. If you specify what you want, and you want it, which means you're willing to make the sacrifices necessary to get it, then the probability that you'll get it expands immensely. Now, of course, it assumes that what you want is within the bounds of appropriate reason, let's say. But you could also dream big, and there's always the possibility that'll work out too. Then they write for 15 minutes, okay, your life is the way you want it to be in 4 years. What does it look like? And then we have them do the opposite, which is, all right, take stock of yourself for a minute, with all your weaknesses and inadequacies and bitternesses and resentments and sinful tendencies, let's say. Now imagine that you let all of that go. Which little corner of hell would you occupy in 3 to 5 years? Why don't you write about that? And everyone knows where they'd go if they let themselves. And so then you have something to avoid, and you have something to strive for.
You've made it this far. Let's close with lesson number 7. Spend less than you earn. It may sound simple, but this is the golden rule of wealth. No matter how much you make, if more is going out than coming in, you're moving backwards. Living below your means isn't about sacrifice, it's about freedom. It's about having room to breathe, save, and grow. This rule builds a margin between stress and stability, between paycheck to paycheck, and real peace of mind. Control your spending, and you take back your power. Because when you spend less than you earn, you're not just surviving, you're building a future on your terms.
If you do these 5 things, you will win with money 100% of the time. Number 1, you need to have a written plan, a budget. No one accidentally wins. Second thing is you got to get out of debt. Your most powerful wealth building tool is your income. And when you spend your whole freaking life giving your money to banks who fill up the skyline and have furniture nicer than yours, that makes you stupid. Number 3, live on less than you make. You need to decide that my life is not good enough the way it is, and so I am going to control the controllables. I am going to change some things. And then you're going to save some money. You know how rich people get rich? They save money. And if you'll get out of debt and you'll invest and you live on less than you make and you have a plan, then you can do the last one. It's the most fun you'll ever have with money. You can be outrageously generous.
Wealth isn't just about money. It's about peace, purpose, and the freedom to live fully. Wherever you are on your journey, remember this: every step counts. Progress is built in quiet moments, in small decisions, and in choosing wisely, even when it's hard. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stay committed. Thank you for spending your time here at The Wealthy Status. If this brought you clarity, confidence, or calm, consider joining us. Subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and be part of something greater. Because wealth isn't just built alone, it's built together. Until next time, stay grounded, stay focused, and stay wealthy in every sense of the word.